Okay, guys, let's talk about the writing proficiency exam. So first of all, I want to apologize to y'all. I am sick this week, so if I sound a little stuffy, I apologize. I'll try to speak as clearly as I can, but please excuse my coughing. Um, so I know that the writing proficiency exam sounds intimidating because we call it an exam, right, instead of calling it an essay, but I really want y'all to think of this as just another essay that you're submitting for the class. The only differences about it are your deadline's a little bit shorter, so it's due on Friday rather than on next Monday. And that's just because that's how much time the students who are taking it in class get, and it's not fair for us as online students to get a longer time than they would receive. So the deadline's a little bit shorter, and the deadline is harder. The exam shuts down after the deadline, so if for some reason you don't get it handed in by the deadline, you're going to have to contact me in order to hand it in. So I really want to stress that it's important that you plan ahead this week and make time to get this done so that you can have it handed in by Friday at midnight, or Friday at 11:59 p.m. So that's one of the differences. The other difference is you're not doing a rough draft, right? So you're responsible for doing your own editing. You won't have a rough draft where I make comments for you, but part of the reason for that is that this is a little bit simpler of an assignment than the things that we're typically doing in class. You get a very specific question, and the prompt is set up to try to kind of give you an idea about how to organize the essay and what to say. So you get a little bit more help than you would with one of the assignments that we normally do in class. So those are the two major differences. And so I don't want you to get really intimidated by this. By now, you've already written essays. All your essays this semester have been organized as 5-paragraph essays. And so in reality, all of them have been a practice for this particular assignment. So let's talk a little bit about what the exam is. So it's a really basic 5-paragraph essay. Just like the other things that you've written this term, it's asking you for an introduction, 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. The expectation of this exam is that I really would like you to write it in 1 or 2 sittings. So the students who are taking it in class, they don't get to take it home with them, right? They have to sit in class and write the exam. And so that's the reason that you don't get an extended period of time to write it in where you can do multiple rough drafts, because we're trying to simulate something that is as similar as possible to the way that the students who are taking it in class have to take it. So I just wanted you to understand that's the reason why there's no rough draft, there's no immediate feedback from me, and there's no extended deadline on this one. So we're trying to make it as similar to the way students hand it in class as possible. But otherwise it looks just like your regular assignments. It's set up as a Turnitin. So you'll submit it exactly the same way. You do a Word doc or a PDF and submit it to the assignment link. We've already talked about the deadline. It's a little tighter than others. It's due on Friday. So Friday at 11:59 p.m. So the prompt is already available to you. You can find it on the Moodle site, just like you would with your normal essay prompts for your other assignments. The questions for this exam follow a really specific format. So we give you 2 questions on any prompt, and you get to choose one of the questions. So you don't need to write about both of them. I want to stress that. Don't write about both. Pick one. Pick the one that is more interesting to you, that you think you have more information to talk about. And each one is set up to try to make the essay easy for you. So the questions are set up already showcasing the way that you could use them to do the 5-paragraph format. So the question's specifically going to ask you for 3 things, 3 key points. And the expectation is each one of those key points is going to be one of your body paragraphs. And I'm going to show you what I mean in an example in a minute. So here I've got a sample question so that you can see kind of what I'm talking about. The questions typically give you a little bit of background about the issue that they're asking about. So they'll give you some information about the question. And then even kind of provide you with pointers for what you could use as key points in your essay if you'd like to. So, for example, a question might read, in the past several years, colleges and universities have noticed a large drop in their graduation rates, meaning that an increasingly small percentage of students graduate successfully. Studies suggest that several types of problems stand in the way of student success, including family problems, financial issues, illness, and inadequate preparation for college-level work. In a 5-paragraph essay, so there's the thing, they're telling you, I want 5 paragraphs, describe 3 reasons why you think some students drop out before completing college. So, your essay would need to answer that question. So you already have a built-in thesis statement, right? You know my essay needs to be about answering this question. I need to come up with 3 reasons why some students drop out before completing college in this sample essay. Obviously yours is going to be about a different topic, but if you were writing about this, the question already tells you, here's what your thesis statement needs to say. And look at that question. In the question, and I'm going to highlight it for you here, in the question, it tells you some examples of things that you might use as your key points, right? It says that, oops, I'm not very good at highlighting. It says that some of the things that stand in the way of students graduating are family problems, financial issues, illness, and inadequate preparation. So you could pull 3 of those things and use them as your key points. So you've already got some built-in information to help you write the essay. So what I've done here in these slides, I'm not going to read all of this stuff out loud to you because that's going to be boring, but I want to encourage you to come back and read this because what I've done is I've written pieces of a sample essay for you. I'm taking this question on the previous slide and I'm answering it. I'm saying, here's how I might answer that question if I were writing this as a WPE. So over here on the left-hand side, I have an example intro. And so you can read through that and see how I might take the question that was asked and use it to help me formulate my introduction and my thesis statement. So when I grade the essay, the first thing I'm going to look for is, do you have a good introduction? And you can use a pretty basic format for your intros for the WPE. And you can even use some of the information from the prompt in your answer. So if the prompt gives you some factual information about the subject, you can use that in your introduction. Don't take it word for word, but you can summarize some of what they've said. So your introduction just gives a little background, draws in the reader's interest, and shows why the issue is important, and then you write a thesis. Your last sentence of your introductory paragraph, right? So it's just like what we've been doing in class already. So thesis statement. At the end of your introductory paragraph, you need to have a thesis that tells me exactly what you're going to talk about in the essay. And in the WPE, the Writing Proficiency Exam, that thesis should list your 3 key points. So here, I've written a thesis statement in answer to the question that was asked previously. So remember the question was, what are some of the reasons why students might not successfully graduate college? And so I say, chief among these obstacles are financial need, unanticipated family issues, and insufficient preparation for college-level work. So I've taken my 3 of the key points that they suggested in the question, and I'm using those in my thesis statement. Those are the 3 I'm going to write about. So note the 3-point format of the thesis. I state my argument, which is that there are obstacles that prevent students from graduating, and I list the 3 points that I'm going to talk about in my essay. So that's really the best option for the WPE. It's what I suggest you do because it shows very directly, here's my argument, here are the 3 key points I'm going to talk about. And the 3-point thesis sets up your grader. It sets me up when I'm grading to know exactly what you're going to talk about in the body of the essay. A real quick pointer, some students get caught in this trap where instead of writing a compact thesis, they'll write 3 separate sentences with the key points in their introduction. So they'll say, one reason is financial need. period. Another reason is unanticipated family issues, period. Don't do that. Your thesis statement needs to be a single sentence at the end of your introduction. So introductory paragraph ends with a thesis statement, and it should be that thesis statement should be a single sentence, and you should include your 3 points in that single sentence. So do it like I've done here in this example, right? I list my 3 key points. So don't fall into the trap of making those into separate sentences. Include them all in your thesis statement. You'll have time to use them as separate sentences in your